I keep on asking Polarium to send me UDK. They send me Fenax, they send me Genzin. Now they send me Ashwalker, which means I think I owe Ash $1.
I'll take it.
Hello, everyone. Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and as you may have noticed, I am not alone. We have the legendary Ash over here. How you doing, my friend?
Bront, I think it's you that is legendary, my friend. You are number one in the free-to-play comp, so it is my honor to be here.
Yeah, it's always fun to have people call that out. I feel kind of embarrassed about it at this point in time too, but I'm sure you get embarrassed with people calling you legendary content creator as well. So
Well, yes, but at least you have some credentials to back your your embarrassment thing up. I do not.
Okay, well we'll compromise and we'll just say we're two mediocre content creators and we'll go from there.
That's perfect, man. That's right up my alley. You know me.
Awesome. So we are here to talk about just kind of things that have changed in the game. They're constantly changing. Obviously, the game is not the same game it was 6 years ago at this point in time, but it's not even the same game it was year and a half, 2 years ago. Sometimes it's the way we approach things. Sometimes it's just the way our account has progressed. So I figured we'd talk a little bit about things that have kind of changed, either like in the meta or how things you're approaching the game as well. So just in the past year and a half, it's a good thing. It's the 6th anniversary, so it's a good time to talk about that sort of stuff.
I love it, man. I love it.
Awesome. So why don't we kick it over to you? Let you start because you are the guest.
All right, let's do it. I think that first one, I'll take it very personal, right? And I mentioned this on our last collab too, but it's really a philosophy change that I've had personally for my account. So obviously I'm a spender in Raid, but this I guess this philosophy shift can apply to anybody in a certain regard. And that is I still spend money on shard openings, but I'm really trying to harness in any spending or allocation of my personal resources, either a lot of time or in my case, money, towards getting new champions, right? I do it for videos occasionally, but I'm trying not to splurge like crazy, not because of the normal reasons, like I need to set a budget and not get crazy, but rather because I have all the champions that I need. I'm endgame. I've playing for 6 years. I got everything that I need. What I really need, though, if I want to compete with my peers, like any other endgame players who have the type of champions and empowerment and blessings that I do, I really need better gear. And I feel like for whatever reason, I mean, my gear is not awful, right? It's good, but I need great gear to match my great champions. Like my champion development, my account is fantastic. It's insane. It's very Kraken-y, but it could apply to anybody too, but my gear's not at that threshold. My gear's like at a really good player, but not to where my champions are. So I guess one philosophy I've had personally is, no, if I'm gonna spend $50 or $100 this week in Raid or this month in Raid, doesn't matter. I'm gonna err on the side of energy, right? And I'm gonna really focus my time on trying to upgrade my gear quality, especially with champion presets. They changed everything because it's easy to identify your gear now and save your best gear slots and kind of manage that appropriately or accordingly on your account. So anyway, that's the biggest thing for me is I need to grind out better gear. I need to, every time an event dungeon comes out, I need to make sure that I make it a priority to farm overnight, a couple times a night or whatever, and really take advantage of that because that's where I'm slacking. So for a long time, for me, previous to this moment, the last 6 months or so, I was just like, just very casually doing gear, doing really grindy gear raids. So that's one of my kind of shifts in focus, something that I should have done a lot sooner.
Yeah, and it's I've seen this on plenty of accounts. I do takeovers regularly. I've seen other content creators where they've spent so much focus on shards and they've got all these great champions, and then you ask them why they can't do the particular content that they're looking for, and it's like, well, I can't build these champions well enough to do this, and you're kind of missing out if you can't build the champions you have. So
exactly.
To be fair, Raid kind of wants you to have it that way because obviously they'd prefer you spend money on the champions and then it kind of feels like you need to do stuff too. But like, Siffy is actually probably a good example. My Siffy is 420-ish speed, 423 right here. Yours is significantly faster, I'm sure. And you wish yours was even faster, probably.
Well, yeah, mine is 432. But if you look at my account and all my champions, you'd be like, oh, he probably has a 440 or something or whatever. So again, it's just not quite there, but it's not bad. Obviously, I'm sure most people listening would be like, oh, both those speeds are insane. But the fact is that like we're both spenders and we've been playing for a long time, it should be a little bit better, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yes, she's got my best chest. This is an amazing chest here.
Okay, let me see. I'm getting it cut off a little bit. All right, now I see. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, this is an amazing chest here. But you know what? You don't get this stuff without farming dungeons relentlessly. This is a 1 in what I think 5,000 piece, something like that. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, no, it's so true. So yeah, that's one of my personal focuses. I promise they're not all about spending money. all my things.
Yeah, one of the things this is going to be a little more of a meta discussion, but I think, and I don't know if you've seen this in the top end, but for a long time, at least in the high end arena, debuffers have been very frowned upon because sheep has been so prevalent in arena. And I think that the debuffer is slowly starting to come back because we've got pinpoint and we've got the fury set, or the feral set is what it is. And they just give you so much ways to actually avoid being sheeped that you can actually start taking some of these debuffers back in the game again.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's really nice. You could take that same point from sheep. Like, one of the things that people complained about the most over the last 3 years in PvP, it's sheep, my number one by far. But number two, I think, is stone skin. And both of those, slowly but surely, they've addressed, in little ways. Both sheep and stone skin are still, super prevalent. They are the meta still. But to your point, there's more ways to deal with both of them. We have the new artifact set for stone skin that's coming in with the live arena leagues really soon too. So, in the blessing and whatnot. So I feel like they've introduced, I agree with you, Bront. I feel like I used to be the number one complainer way back in the hegemon days. Hegemon's ruining the arena. Oh, then I changed it. I complained about Torment. Torment's ruining the arena. And then I complained about Stone Skin. I complained about speed teams. I complained about Polymorph. But now that I take a step back and kind of look at it from a macro perspective, metas can be annoying. There can be specific champions like Armons and whatever that can be super annoying and meta defining. But I think that, to your point, I've taken a more of a long approach, right? Where I kind of know that, like, I one of the few things that I have faith in Plarium in is that they're actually going to go in there. They are going to address meta changes, probably slower than a lot of the player base would like, but they will address and allow the meta to kind of evolve slowly, and things won't become the same thing for years and years and years, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the meta has definitely shifted more in the past 6 months to a year. Honestly, Armand's was probably the biggest shift we've had in a long time in the arena meta, and honestly the any meta. But there's definitely been a slowly shift from dealing with Armands to the ways you've countered him, and some of them have certainly helped counter some of the other things like sheep in general.
Absolutely. Good one. All right, I'm gonna go. Okay, so I've given a lot of complaints and hate to Plarium over the years for their, first of all, they went a whole year in 2023 with no buffs. I think they had like one at the very beginning of the year, and that's it in terms of rebalancing. And then last year I was very skeptical when they're like, we're gonna bring back champion rebalancing, and then I was like, okay, great, and they're like, we're gonna do 2 a month. And I'm like, 2 a month? Come on, Plarium. There's a million champions that need balancing in this game. Are you crazy? Like, you don't have someone on payroll that can just do the ones that need to be done? So that was my original take. But now, looking back at the 26 champion, the 28 champions that have been buffed since they made that announcement, I think that actually, yeah, sure, we all want more. And I think there's a lot of ways, certain areas, especially like void epics and like rares that could use buffs. And I'd love to see them address more rarities than just mythicals and legendaries. But to their credit, they come out with some really good buffs to a lot of champions, either making them from trash to acceptable or acceptable to really good, that it's hard to complain in aggregate when you look back now, at all the balancing they've done. It could be someone from as a great hoof Lauratia, right? Like, she's not an insanely good champion, but she's not trash like she was anymore, right? She actually has solid kit, Hacker and Smash Lord, Skinwalkers as well. There's a lot of champions you actually forget how many they touched when you look back the last year and a half. And I think for the most part, they've done a really good job at these balancing. So like now I'm a little bit more open-minded to the cadence that they have, as long as they stick with it. I would like to see them expanded a bit though.
Yeah, I mean, like Tila is probably a good example of one of the first buffs that was actually significantly meaningful. And to be fair, she was buffed 2 or 3 times, I think, before they finally got it right. But the making this a full AoE instead of random hitter, I think, and then she extends it and gave Hex, and Hex was useful at this point in time. So this became a usable debuff as well. The allele buff definitely looks interesting.
Yeah,
You know, they don't always
Calamitous is a
hit
lot
it.
better. I mean, even the mythical ones, Siegfried was game changing. You
Mhm.
know, Calamitous was good. There's a lot of champions that need to be addressed still. But yeah, like even Noble, they missed on a few. They missed on
Yeah.
a few. Like Fortis, I was not a fan of. Angar, still not good. So they've had some misses there. To be fair, they had a lot more dubs. I feel like than fails.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I like Fortis. I still think he needs to be fixed, but I've
Yeah.
actually had some fun with him before. 'Cause
I love
he's
Fortis like conceptually, but I still like he's just not the dude you want to see coming out of a void
no,
shard,
no, he's
you know?
not. But he
But
gets a
hey, with
bad
that
rap
new
because
guy,
he
with
is super.
Fabian though,
Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, with Fabian though, he could have some with all those fears going down, he
Oh
could have
yeah,
some interesting synergy, you know?
yeah, and I think a lot of people forget the fact that he's actually stupid tanky because he basically revives himself with full HP if you kill him the first time. So he can actually solo some stuff as a nuker and do decent damage overall. So yeah, he's not
Yeah,
great, but you know, he's not the trash tier that I think people make him out to be, and it's more of an issue that he's a void legendary, so we just expect more from void legendaries.
indeed. Indeed. Yeah. So, yeah, some misses, but like I guess overall, my main point is I was very critical. I was almost like super eye roll, like shame on you, Plarium, but I've really enjoyed the rebalancing for the most part.
Yeah. One of the things I think that has changed, and this is probably not for the better, but I think we're talking about farming gear and for the dungeon stuffs overall, and I do think that the way we've had gear power creep in the game, the dungeons themselves probably need a little bit of a gear rework on them. I know, for example, I've gone from spider farming where I would do a speed team on, 25 seconds on here on stage 25, not a big deal. I've gone to, you know what, I'm just going to farm stage 20. I'm going to speed farm it because I can do it in 2 turns with a newt and 3 food. And I don't care. I just sell everything from this stage right now. There's no reason to keep these things anymore on an endgame account. And it's painful. And it's obviously, for people that don't access the event dungeon, obviously this is a little bit harder for you to go for because you can't farm this stuff quite as readily. But the accessories definitely need some sort of rework, and Spider is just not in a great shape right now. But even then, Fire Knight, decent-ish dungeon, but every single set other than maybe regeneration and stun has been power crept. Ice Golem, once you get enough of the gear that you need with the Cursed and the Retaliation, good sets. They've done a good job of making these more relevant, but still just not where you're at in the end game anymore. Dragon's long been not particularly great for the end game, but at this point in time, speed is kind of losing its luster because there's speed plus sets out there now.
Yeah, I agree. Dungeons are kind of dead in the end game, like it's just like no one wants to farm. I mean, even the 3x on Savage right now, that used to be when they would do that used to be like, okay, I'm going to be farming Fire Knight overnight and saving my energy. And now it's just like, I mean, I still like Savage gear, don't get me wrong, but it's still like the most incentive I could have for the most part to be excited. But to your point, I think that you hit the nail on the head, especially on Spider's Den, man. Like that used to be where I get all my silver and like some of my most important, accessories or like things that would make my champions better on my account. And now it's just silver, because I'm at the point, and again, this is an end game problem specifically because you'll need the accessories and progression and stuff. But I'm at the point where unless it's like a really nice, maybe a mythical or a legendary banner where I get a lot of speed rolls on a banner, I'm basically trashing everything, like even the days where I was like, okay, crit damage with some accuracy, like I'll keep it. Like I just don't have room anymore, so everything normal is getting trashed on my account, sold. So I would love to, I don't know, what do you think? How do you think they can fix the accessories, Bront? Especially,
Yeah, I mean, it is so hard.
The sets,
The only thing I could think of that would make Spider at least a little bit better is if the Spider accessories were not limited to factions anymore, then you wouldn't have to keep, a full set of everything per faction.
Ooh, interesting. That's a big change, but I like the idea because that gives it a massive inherent leg to stand on in terms of the competition to all the 9-piece variables,
Yeah, so it means that, okay, my best of my best accessories, and it gives it a point of like, why would I ever not use 9-piece Feral? Well, if I've got a quad speed piece in the right set with the right bonuses, well, not in the right set, obviously we're talking about non-sets, but that would be absolutely amazing and super helpful versus, some other stuff. Give me a reason to use non-special sets, because otherwise There's no
Yeah.
reason to not use a feral piece on a random champion because I might get extra speed if I get 2 pieces, the extra accuracy. Just so powerful. Reaction, still very, very good for champions in Arena. Blood Shield has its use, although it's certainly very much more. Stone Skin, protection, everyone's building everyone in 9-piece Stone Skin, or now that you can actually do 4-piece Stone Skin, 4-piece Savage, that type of stuff. Merciless has proven to be both a damage set as well as this reset here is super critical for a lot of champions as well. So yeah, you give us a reason to keep some of the standard accessories. And honestly, I think maybe rework a couple of the dungeons. I know you've got the Forge set. I don't think it would really hurt the Forge passes too much if you maybe even put some of those Forge sets in the regular dungeons finally to let the dungeons be slightly better than campaign sets plus a few other niche sets,
Yeah. You know what they could do too is they could introduce, I'm not a fan of like power creeping, even I don't want to solve a problem necessarily by adding more power creep necessarily. However, I think for accessories specifically, they could add a 9-piece variable to Spider that's made just for Spider. It could be add, poison sensitivity, or it could have some sort of a poison synergy or something, but and it doesn't have to be, it could be alongside everything else, kind of like Pinpoint was alongside other, sets. But maybe they could give something that would give you a reason or incentivization to actually be excited about farming Spider again, So I don't know, a lot of good ideas. I like your idea a little bit better, but it's I don't see them doing it either,
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. But
well, the big reason I like my idea is because they've already mentioned that the space is going to be an issue. And that's really the big reason that Spider sucks, is because if I had space for all that Spider gear too, if I had double this space, I'd probably still have a ton of the Spider gear. Just don't have the space for it anymore.
100%. 100%.
Right.
My last thing for you, this is kind of another personal thing, but it's really something that I kind of asked myself at some point on my account. It's just like, I'm not advocating for people to become Raid Shadow Legends addicts. However, if you are going to spend money or just spend a lot of time, either one, you're going to probably dispose a lot of them if you're playing Raid, right? One or the other, or both. But I stopped doing the little things because they felt inconsequential compared to the amount of time and money I was spending. So I'm talking about Doom Tower normal as an endgame player. I'm talking about Sintranos normal difficulty. I'm talking about using my last 2 keys in Faction Wars every day for the 1-star glyphs. All the little things, I let all those slip on my account, right? Like for a long time, even Iron Twins. Like I wasn't doing Iron Twins. Sometimes I would do the first key and not spend the gems, but most of the times I just wouldn't do it. I started slacking on farming Dark Fae, like Dark Fae rotations, and not to mention other rotations. I would just never farm Doom Tower bosses anymore, So I started slacking in one little area at first, then another little area, then another little area. And then I started to ask myself, I'm spending so much time in this game anyway, and money in this game, frankly. Why am I missing on all the free-ish rewards? A lot of those things that I mentioned are stuff that are totally free, And even an endgame player, all the speed glyphs that I get just from Doom Tower and Sintranos alone on the normal difficulties, it's funny. I was talking to, who was I talking to? It doesn't matter. I was collabing with somebody and they were talking about an account takeover they had. And it was an end, like a way bigger whale than me, $500,000 to $1 million spent in this game. And their account kind of sucked. Only for one reason. It kind of goes back to the first thing you were mentioning about my artifacts. But can you guess why their account kind of sucked?
They weren't farming dungeons. They didn't have gear.
That's part of it. They bought every gear pack possible for a few months straight. So they had some decent sets, but glyphs, man.
Yep.
Glyphs.
Glyphs is the other one. Yeah.
They don't gosh, as long as Plarium doesn't sell relics and glyphs, and they need to make sure they don't totally sell out by selling those things, because this guy probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in this game over a short period, relatively speaking, but he couldn't compete with anybody in the arena because he didn't have the glyphs. He didn't have any glyphs, So I think that it just goes to show the power of, back to my original point, paying attention to those small things can give you resources that you can't, even if you spent all day and all your money, you still couldn't get them. So I'm really trying to be much more vigilant on, before I, whale out and do something in the game or whatever, before I just auto farm a dungeon for no reason or whatever the heck. I really want to make sure that I'm doing the little things on my account, Otherwise, why am I bothering to play? Why am I spending when I'm leaving so much free on the table? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, I've got Harima pulled up here, just randomly counted it out. 25 additional speed, that is
right?
Not insignificant.
This
I've
guy's
actually
got
done
so
a
much
couple
money,
of builds.
Bront. He can't win an arena battle because
Yeah.
he can't out speed anybody.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating, and yeah, and that's it. Really is the thing. There's all kinds of little things here, and it's not to say that oh, I didn't finish Faction Wars today, I should stop playing or anything like that. That's
No,
not
no,
what we're
no, no, no.
talking about. We're
This race should
talking
never be a
about
chore. You know? Yeah.
spend a little bit of time on it. It's actually one of the reasons that, like, for example, I actually spend time building my Faction Wars teams because I don't want to spend a lot of time in here. So I put the best champions I can in my Faction Wars to make sure that I can do this in 10 seconds. And then it's less time out of my day. And I just have to remember to click it occasionally. And sometimes, yeah, I do have a couple keys left over. They don't get used. But, might as well make it as easy as possible. And it's not like, they've given you the extra raid keys for it too. So super raids means you're only doing it twice instead of 4 times on the top floor as well. Just super easy stuff.
And you can have fun with it, man. Like, I don't know if you do the same thing, Bront, but like I like to just try to see if I can improve on my times just for the heck of it. Like I try to, I got a new champion, and it's like, it's not going to make that big of a difference, but in anything that I can see, we're in the same clan family for years and years and years. Rise, shout out. And like, I use my clanmates as massive competition, right? So like, I'm looking at you and USMC Harrier and Sato and Super Bonbon. Like, I'm looking at those top, like, I'm looking at people in my, in my little tier or whatever. And I'm always trying to compete. I don't say anything. I never say it. I'm always trying to compete on everything, even Centrano. So that drives me. It gives me a little bit of drive to do a little bit better. But yeah, man, I'm with you. Just trying to make it easy on yourself. And again, I'm not advocating people. You never want to make it feel like this job, this job, Freudian slip. This game is a job that you don't look forward to. If that's the case, then I would just take a day or two off or whatever, but if you do enjoy the game, get the free stuff.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. It is, I always say this, I've always lead off, we're having fun talking Raid Shadow Legends. Is just, the point of this game is fun. So yeah, make sure you're having fun. And if you're not having fun, maybe the game isn't for you, or maybe you just need to change how you approach it a little. Nothing wrong with either approach.
100%.
So I think one of the things I want to go over is talking about things that have certainly changed is, and this is, again, probably a little bit of the negative thing, but Hydra overall has just kind of changed in how people kind of feel about it. And I think the start of that was Hydra Clash. And Hydra Clash, I kind of get why Polarium did it, but I think it's probably one of the least popular things Polarium has done for the community, because basically it's a great place for people to get frustrated because they're struggling getting the high-end teams. I know we were struggling for a while. I think we went 9 weeks in a row without getting a chest down here early on, and it was very, very frustrating. And then of course they changed Hydra as well, so that certainly changed it. And it's very interesting, and I don't know if you see this on your videos or not. I did a video on, I think it was early clan boss, and I was building an early accessible clan boss team. It was literally what I talked about. And I ran it, and I did 50 million on hard. And I thought that was a good key for the fact that I was using like Rector Drath, and I think only free legendaries and stuff like that. And there were comments of like, I wouldn't be proud of that score. That's nothing, and it's like, it is just so weird. And it's just, I think that there's a weird scale because of things like Hydra Clash, where people have kind of gotten lost in the, I'm not doing millions of damage or billions of damage, I'm not doing enough for my clan. And I think it's, actually one of the few toxic things, I think, in Raid, where, I've got a good team in Nightmare. I've got a Toshiro team. My Toshiro does not do what your Toshiro does, but of course you've got a 6-star soul for him, and I have no soul for him. And that's probably the only reason why my Toshiro doesn't do what your Toshiro does for the most part.
100%, yeah.
But at the same time, I have to come to terms with the fact that, oh darn, I'm only doing 700 million in Nightmare Hydra, and it's, and plenty of people would be like, that's amazing, I would love to do that. And I'm in the other end of the scale is, maybe that's not quite enough. I'd like to see if I can milk more out of it. And
dude, I'm way even further negative than you are on Hydra. It's such a shame to admit, but part of it was all the changes they made, and then part of it was for me as much as I love quick battles, now I just don't even care anymore. You know, like I'm not. Like I love that they added quick battles because I don't care. Like, but I am so over Hydra. I don't know. Like to me, it's just not even a fun game mode anymore. I hate to be so down on it, but I don't like. It used to be my favorite thing about Raid for a long time, and now it's right there with Demon Lord for me. Like I don't care about it. I don't think about it. I quick battle it, and I don't look to optimize anymore like I used to. It doesn't feel fun anymore to me, you know. Like and I don't have much to complain about. My teams are still beast mode and whatever. It's not about that. It's not about the difficulty for me. It's just about the sheer fun. Something about the decapitated heads and the olden days. Like I really enjoyed it. The ally attack. Like I don't know. Like the changes. It just. I think we had a conversation about this with Clarium, and I think that they were like, yeah, we acknowledge that we stand by the changes that we made, and we think that overall the player base has responded well. The participation in Hydra has gone up in the stats. So like I can't argue with that if they're if you take them at their word. But they also admitted that, the fun we acknowledge is just not the same anymore, So I really hope they said they're going to go and make some pretty major changes. I shouldn't say major, but significant changes to remedy that, the fun quotient. But I don't know how they do it at this point,
Yeah, it's painful because, there's a lot of, there's entire channels that were built on Hydra content because Hydra was fun. Yeah. And I know a lot of people were like hoping that Chimera would bring us some of that stuff back again. And Chimera is great. Don't get me wrong. I think they did a really good job of this overall. But because you can use the same team twice, there's a little less of this panic for the teams, as well as there's just, once you've kind of solved Chimera, you've kind of solved Chimera. So a lot of it now is just kind of positioning for some stuff. So
the rotations don't feel the same as Hydra, like it's as significant. And I'm with you. Like I'm not trying to advocate for not using the same team, certainly, because I know that would hurt a lot of players, and a lot of players would love, that's one of their favorite things about Chimera. But man, it's already starting to feel like a bit of a chore to me in Chimera, like doing the same thing twice, and I'm a full manual guy. So like, it's like, okay, got an hour and a half on my hands here. I'll be manualing the same exact thing 2 times a week, Yeah,
and I think really where I think they missed the boat on this is some of these challenges are poorly thought out for the trials. Like, I don't know if you've ever tried to do the trial for the shields, for example.
No, I mean, I haven't been able to on my team. I don't have a shield champ.
It doesn't matter if you did, because I think it's versus the Lion. You almost can't do it because the shield champion is versus a single target. He actually ignores shields for some of the stuff anyway, and the amount of damage you have to have absorbed by the shields is more damage than he might be doing if you're mitigating damage in any way, shape, or form against him. It's just,
oh man, dude.
And it's not the only one that's like that too. Like the Viper one, there's a Viper one where it's keep all your champions alive for 3 Chimera turns, and then the next one after that is successfully revive an ally. Well, I can't do that in the same run, so I have to do that the second time around. And in order to do this one, I have to
crazy they don't go in and fix it.
Yeah.
Come on, man,
But even then, the fact that these have never changed ever, it would have been nice for them to have a rotation of these as well, to at least then change it up a little bit so it becomes, okay, yes, I have to manual this every time, but at least it's not, okay, I have to manual the same thing I did last week again. Just a little bit of change here and there would add so much variety to the game.
I'm totally with you. I think we're saying the exact same thing here, but like I like Chimera is my favorite clan boss by far right now. But so it's not like I feel like, similar to you, I feel like they nailed it in a lot of ways with this boss. Really cool, but man, it's repetitive. And I can see myself in 6 months really not enjoying it,
Yeah, it's a slog, and I mean, there's plenty of slogs in here. As I'm running a tag team arena battle as another slog here, but
they're definitely slogs. But like tag team arena, the repetitive nature of it, or the I know everybody hates tag team, but like to me, I guess it could just be my team too, like how long it takes, But Chimera, it just feels like, I don't know, man. Like I love it, and simultaneously I hate it because it's like, okay, when am I gonna have 3 hours in my week to be able to sit down and do this? Stare at the screen and hit the same buttons, the exact same buttons in the exact same order that I did last week.
Yeah, and it's not even that too. Oftentimes, it's the manual part of it is specifically you have to manual one small section of it, because like the changeover to the Viper form is really kind of where I found I've had to do manual. The rest of it I can generally just auto.
Man, I'd love to say the same thing, Bront, but like I don't know if it's me or if it's or what it is, but with my team, if I take it on exactly what you said, if I take it from full manual to limited manual just to hit my trials or to set up in the beginning of a form change, I notice a really significant damage decrease. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know, or maybe it's my team.
And that then it goes back to the Hydra trials we were talking about. Now that's got the Chimera challenge as well, which is again another reason that you have to do the team. You have to make sure you're doing the right stuff.
Yeah,
it feels.
I don't want to let my clan down.
Yeah. And again, we've been in a rough spot again too, where we have not been doing particularly well the last couple times too. So,
dude, it's been this is the most brutal stretch we've had, I think, as a clan. Like I can't remember, not in terms of like sentiment, like everybody's still awesome. Like, I think we've got the luckiest. I think we're the luckiest people ever because our clan is like so chill, so supportive. There's never been drama in 6 years of this clan. That being said, we're on a tough, we're losing a lot in a row. Like we lost like 3 sieges or 4 sieges and Hydra clashes, 5th place, like back-to-back weeks in Chimera. And I'm like, oh man, dude, this is tough.
Yeah. The stuff is hurt too with the different losses with Siege too, because we're all at 97 fragments for Lamasu.
97. We've been there for like a month.
So
that hurts.
And end game player problems we know, but it's still it's still frustrating pain points. I think one final thing I want to talk about before we go. It's been a great talk with, and it's been fun talking with you. But I think one of the things that certainly has changed, and you've mentioned it a couple times, I mentioned it. Polarium's actually starting to listen to players a lot more than they have previously. They're finally, doing some balance changes and actually taking some user feedback in consideration. They did roll back a few things with the Hydra changes after some feedback, which is something they would not have done 2 years ago or even last year. So that's great. They're just, and on some of these UI changes they're finally making. I mean, you could say that it's taken them way too long to get there. But Polarium's actually listening, which is one of the things I think is kind of nice. And it's actually a good part, good way to talk about this video. Polarium watches a lot of these videos and, these are ideas. That's why we love getting comments from you guys. If you guys have any comments, leave them down below on what's changed for you in Raid. What would you like to see changed in Raid as well? That's, Polarium's definitely stepping it up.
No, I agree in a lot of ways. I mean, it's weird because they simultaneously step things up in the predatory nature of some of the things that they do, offers wise, events wise, here and there. But at the same time, they've really kept Raid as the #1 game in the category, I feel like, and it's not even close. But they've been able to do that by also adding a ton of great quality of life stuff. Like I love the gear setups, the quick battles. Now we'll have background battles as well. They're going to improve upon that. So like they've added a lot in the quality of life of this game as well to keep it on top even through the duration, which is significant how long the game's been out.
Yeah, and it's definitely good to see them continue to make improvements. And yeah, we love playing the game. That's why we're still here. That's part of why we're creating content. It would definitely be hard for creating content for a game we did not like. That is not a slog anyone wants.
Yeah, so, indeed.
You can definitely say we are enjoying the game. We're having fun. You should be too. And appreciate you coming on the channel and talking about some of this stuff. It's been a blast.
Pleasure's always mine, man. Thank you again for having me, Bront. It's been a good chat.
So the 3 of you that are watching this video that have never heard of Ash, there will be links down below. I'm sure you can find him as well. He's the #1 at the moment, I believe, in the space here. He's an awesome dude. And he really is an awesome dude. He's, you see him in these videos, you see some of these folks, you think they're just being chill for the video. Nah, Ash is awesome. I've known him for a while. Great dude. So glad to have you on here.
You're too kind. Stop. Stop.
Hit that like button on my channel as well. Hit that subscribe button if you hadn't had it as well. Smash that. Really appreciate it. You guys are absolutely amazing. Continue being one of the best communities in gaming, as we've talked about in a couple of videos. And until the next video, that is Ash, and I'm Bront CatHerder.